Alright, hello everybody. My name is Verxl and I'm here to speedrun a bit of a different game called Ring Fit Adventure. Over the category explanation while I do a bit of setup here. So this category is called Beat World 2, which is simple. You start from a fresh save file and you just want to beat the second world of the game. The game is extremely long, and any percent is over 10 hours for a world record. So it says any intensity, which intensity is on a scale of 1 to 30. Intensity 30 is its own category. For any intensity, we play on intensity 1 because that's going to be the fastest. That mostly affects how many reps you do for attacks, which we'll get to a bit later. Then comes calibration. There are 2 bits of calibration, and this is tied into the fact that I'm playing restricted, which used to be known as intended. So for restricted/intended, you have to have a minimum calibration here of at least plus 40 and minus 40. The point of it is that you're trying to do all of the exercises relatively intended way, and not abusing any sort of glitches or anything like that. For the leg section, this is going to be the same for intensity 1 or intensity 30. You just want to try and match your jog with the little guy in the left-hand side. He's going to start off with a pretty light jog, so you want to make sure you don't go too fast here. And then he's going to do a bit of a harder run, so you don't want to outspeed him here. And if you are doing intensity 30, the ring con calibration has to be plus 100 and minus 100. If you are doing the unrestricted categories, then you don't need to do calibration whatsoever. So then I scroll down here to show that all of the assist modes are off. That's also so that, again, showing that you're doing things as intended. Some of these make exercises or running a bit easier, and we don't want to do any of that in restricted. If you happen to have disabilities or something like that, you can always run in unrestricted, where you're allowed to use those assist modes as well, and just makes life easier. So with that, I'll go ahead and count us down. I've got my own timer running here, but whoever's got the timer wants to start it. Time begins at first movement on the map because there's a 6-minute unskippable cutscene. So we always have a save file just set up right after that and begin here. So with that, we will begin in 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing I'm going to mention is that there's a quick warm-up animation your character does with a little bit of stretching at the start of each stage. It'll happen after this cutscene. If you just press the ring, it'll go ahead and skip that. Next thing you're going to notice is I'm going to be mashing this ring. Come on. I'm going to be mashing this ring a lot. So, Ring Fit Adventure is not strictly an exercise game a la Wii Fit or anything like that. It is also an RPG. So every time that I am pushing the ring here, I'm getting a little bit of extra experience. And for Beat World 2, there are a couple of experience thresholds you want to get in order for the maximum time taken. There are people who are a lot faster than I am when it comes to doing these presses, but I'll be doing my best to do it while commentating as well. Sometimes, you know, motion controls can be a bit funky and get caught on things. If I press it a little bit harder, that's when you see the gold air blast. And hitting one of the doors with a golden air blast before you hit it with another one is what gains an extra 10 experience, which is pretty worthwhile. So the first level threshold is I'm hoping to hit level 3 at the end of the stage. We'll see how that goes. I'm expecting to probably fall short. You can start pulling early here to suck up those rings. That is required the very first time that you play this stage, every run. Now at the end here, there's a thing called a victory pose. It is going to want me to squat down, and then after holding that squat for a certain amount of time, I will stretch back up. Now there was that word stretch on the screen very briefly there. Time is when that word stretch goes away on the final boss. Alright, so I got 449 ring presses, which is honestly pretty low for a run, but somewhat expected for talking during the marathon. So I'm not going to get this first experience threshold, so that's not a big deal. The first threshold is just that the enemy here will die a little bit faster. The next two thresholds are a lot more important. One thing I also didn't mention is that if you hear the voice of the ring, he is talking in Chinese. The voice matters because anytime the ring is talking, how fast you can match his text depends on how fast the audio line finishes, and the male Chinese voice just happens to be the fastest. This enemy I like to call a water break because I get a nice little bit of time to get a breathing here and drink some water. So this is the introduction to combat in the game, and I just mash here to do the first two attacks, which happens to also be optimal. So first we're going to do squats. Gotta hold the pose until it gives the okay. As you can see, doing the squats is an attack, and because of intensity 1, we need to go ahead and do just 2 attacks. Next is ab guard, which shows how you defend from enemy attacks. You have to hold it down long enough for the enemy to come at you to attack, otherwise it'll stay telling you to go ahead and keep pressing it in. But then we let it go, because it's faster to just take the damage. So had we hit level 3 before that fight, we would have killed the enemy with only one of those overhead presses. One bright side is that by failing to hit that experience threshold, you get an extra 150 XP, so it actually makes it a little bit easier to hit the next experience threshold. And on the next enemy, you'll be able to see exactly what I mean, or what would have happened on the first enemy had I hit level 3. We're going to try to go stairs as little as possible. Now this enemy has some RNG to it. He can either attack me or he can be lazy after this first attack. It's complete RNG, basically a 50-50. So that's the bad RNG. I feel like it's more like a 25% chance based on how often I've been getting it in runs though. It's been a long time since I've seen him be lazy, honestly. There's also a little win animation at the end of every fight. But again, if you're mashing the ring, then you go ahead and skip that. There's definitely more tech regarding what's going on in this combat that I'll need to mention. But I'll be able to mention that during the next fight pretty easily. Victory number 2. So 410 times is actually pretty decent for that stage. So the next threshold is when I hit level 5 before the next boss. Japanese runners Blocko and Kurogo are able to get that by the end of that stage. I am not. But there's plenty of backup experience I can get here before the boss fight actually starts. If I were going for world record strats, I would stop doing the ring presses here, because the ring presses do not help with any of the experience for the boss. They are strictly for later and hitting the 3rd experience threshold. The 3rd experience threshold is to hit level 8 before certain enemies in World 2. This is part of an old route we used to use for the record, but for marathon safety I'm going to continue to do the level 8 strats. Otherwise, you want to be level 5 and then keep as low as possible. This medal right here should hit me to level 5. It's going to tell me that I've learned how to do front press. I'm going to accept, set it on my bar, and that unlocks the ability to customize my menu here. So here, I'm going down remove knee and chest and chair pose from my possible exercises. Both of those are slower than the other two exercises here. And by doing that, that's going to save a lot of time during this boss fight, because now I will be able to turn on shuffle, which makes my exercises random, but allows me to save a lot of time from menuing.
他的事跟你没关系吧？别管了，听我说的话就对了。
So all in all, this is going decently well. I didn't open that at all. So another thing to explain is a technique that is called third strike. You may notice that when I'm doing some of these exercises like squat here, I do a third squat at the very end. By doing that third squat, it actually speeds up the animation for switching to the enemy attacking you. I'm just guessing that's going to be overhead press. It's not. If the enemy isn't going to attack you, then it doesn't save you any time. But if the enemy is attacking, it speeds up that transition a little bit to do for a lot of exercises, though not all of them. So here, I actually do need to block this a little bit, or else I will very possibly die. I want to let it hit the shield as little as possible so that it does little damage, or so I guard for as little time. And here comes some RNG. You want him to attack you after that big attack. That is the good RNG, because now you can let that attack just hit you. The alternative would be he would attack you here with 2 attacks, and you'd have to block those both as well. So, got good RNG on there, at least. So the nature of RNG in this game is that it's just what do those enemies do. Here, the win animation is a bit delayed, so I wait till his hands hit the ground, and then mash. Here, this is going to be level 6, and I want to hit level 8 by the end of the next stage. So that's the goal as far as doing all of the ring presses. So here comes another victory pose. And that's roll 1. So at this point, I go, oop, don't want that. So at this point, I'm just mashing to get through dialogue. I stop mashing when it actually shows the transition between World 1 and 2, because it's going to ask if you want to stop for the day every time that you complete a world, and we do not want to do that. Doing that loses about a minute of time to exit, and then basically have to re-enter the game. So another bit of tech I'm going to mention is a thing called extended hovers. They're going to start to become apparent in the next stage, where there's going to be a giant puddle I'm going to jump across. And normally, if you try to do a jump and hover, you'll land about halfway in the puddle. I want to clear the entire thing without touching the water. And then this is going to be an easier application of that. And then there are some enemy skips in the next 2 stages that I will probably fail, that are a more difficult application of that. So this water has a very low ceiling, which shows you why you want to be able to jump over the ones you can, because you have to do high knees, and it is very slow. That was a very nice hover, jumping over there, and not touching the water at all. That is not necessarily good enough hover for the enemy skips. Well, that's a very easy enemy skip that's been known for a long time. The other 2 enemy skips are a more recent discovery and save a lot more time, because there are 3 enemies in each of the fights that you get. So there's some logs to jump over. Now this fight, you're still going to go ahead and use shuffle. This one also has some RNG to it. He's guaranteed to attack you the first time. The second time you can be lazy, which you really want, because as you can see, his attack animation is very slow. That said, I think the odds of him not attacking is at best a 10% chance. So yeah, he's attacking. This is pretty typical. Next is going to be squats because it's done the other two and always cycle between the three.
要开始了，边吸气边弯腿，
And with that, we're going to say goodbye to our friend Shuffle.
算撑过去了。
The little text on the screen that said win there shows that I was not mashing enough at the end of that fight. But you still skip some of it, even if you mash late. It's not an all or nothing skip. Here comes another giant puddle of water for an extended hover. And I can jump a little bit over that one. Very nice. So I think I'm a little over leveled here, which is fine for marathon safety. Here it's going to want me to do an ab guard to break this rock.
麻烦大了，
I have to wait for this, there's
就
no
这样
other
就我
option.
持续往腹部推压吧。
Again, intensity affects things like how long you have to hold that. So on intensity 30,
Get!
that takes much longer to do. And normally I do not hit level 7 before reaching the goal. That means I'm definitely very good on XP. That should be completely fine.
流了汗好舒服啊！缓缓蹲下 ，Victory！
And this is everyone's obligatory reminder, stay hydrated. Both when you're exercising and just in general throughout the day while watching the marathon. So standing twist here is a very bad exercise
铁啊！
and not a good attack to use.
哦，
That said, it's still going to be ideal for some of these upcoming fights. Assuming I fight them, which will probably happen. So this stage, there's a lot more movement heavy. There are all sorts of conveyor belts. And I'm wanting to do a combination of hovers to bypass the belts or jumps to allow myself to maintain speed from forward belts. Alright, so here comes the first difficult enemy skip. Yo, let's go!
很好，
I have not gotten that in practice since I got sick with COVID
Get!
about a month ago. So that's really nice. Now here's some sick movement,
好，一边破坏一边
jumping on some boxes.
好， 耶！
You can find a little hover here. And maintain the forward
终
belt speed
点，
into the goal.
缓缓蹲下 ，Victory！
So I forgot to open my auto splitter, so I have no idea what my actual pace is like. But this would be a pretty decent one. It's not going to be PB pace because
哇，
all the extra level up screens would stop that. So the next enemy skip is going to be fairly early in this level. And if I get it, I'm going to change tactics up a little bit afterwards. This level is
想吸入什么的时候，就
the
将我拉
timing
开
for
吧
this。enemy skip is a little bit different. So if you go too early, you're going to bump your head. You want to not bump, but you still need enough height to skip the enemies. Going to intentionally fall down here. And fail to skip them. So now I can show off why standing twist is such an important exercise. And why skipping these enemies is
要开始了，
such a big deal.
意识着胸部的肌肉，
So forward press,
边
or front press rather,
腹之力，
attacks 3 enemies at once. As you can see though, it's not enough to actually kill them. Standing twist is the second AoE exercise you get in the game. You have to go a lot higher level to get anything else. It's 20 reps to finish this,
要好好的扭转吧。右
but
左右，腰
you can finish them off pretty easily.
肌肉很开心哦。
You only have to do 6 reps instead. So now, since I didn't get that skip, I'm not going to take the time to adjust my exercises. So I'm going to continue doing things as if it was the level 8 route. But I'm a little bit lower on XP than normal, which just affects some routing decisions. So, with this next fight, if you are level 8, you want to start with squat, and then keep matching whatever attack is next on your bar. If you're level 9, you can do forward press instead, so you have to do one less going to the side for the menu. Because if you do front press at level 8, you will take an extra rep to need to kill them and lose a little bit of time. And better to take that time in the menu scrolling over a little bit. If I had hit both of those enemies, odds are very high I would have been level 9. Now, if you were doing world record strats, you would ideally be more like level 6 when you get here, but in the world record route, you never teach front press onto your bars. You just remove everything to only use squat and overhead press. The two attacks have the same power, so you're just using whatever's available each turn. And this is the final attack to finish sending off. So we've taken one additional rep had I done front press first. One more victory pose.
Victory!
And now we're coming up to the final stage of World 2. So these Drago stadiums are meant to be significantly more intense than the regular stages. And this is apparent for anyone who's played on not Intensity 1, because opening these doors takes a lot of air presses. Fortunately, between practicing the run to get more experience doing the ring presses and being on Intensity 1, these are pretty easy to open. It's just a constant start and stop. As you open one door after another, any extra ring presses you do don't matter, because the experience for the ring presses will be after time is called. So the expectation is, boss is going to get me to level 10, and that'll be it for the run. Now this boss, there are going to be 3 enemies available to hit. And you'd think front press and standing twist might be good here, but no, you're just going to go for the boss. I'm going to go over to squats. I will need to double tap instead of the single tap normally, because the first time selects the exercise, the second time we'll have to select the enemy, since there are multiple targets. Hopefully I should not have to block this boss at all. If he does an attack where he does 2 hits, which is the less likely RNG I think, then I will have to block that attack for both hits. But only need a partial block, so there's that at least. Have to match with a little bit more dialogue, but not match too fast so I don't accidentally go into an attack. And the game wants you to diversify your exercises, so there's a cooldown before you can use each exercise again. But the way it's set up for these starter exercises is that there's only a 1-turn cooldown, so I can just alternate squats and overhead press infinitely from here. This boss also never attacks on the first attack. Always attacks on the first attack. So I tend to do the third strike anyways because I run other categories for this game. I think this is fine. We'll see depending on what type of attack he does after this. Yes, this is good RNG, so he's going to go ahead and punch me here. It's going to hurt a lot. Low on health, screen's starting to flash red. But it doesn't matter because the boss is dead. And from a casual standpoint, it's good to go straight for the boss as well, because you still get the experience from the side enemies just for killing the boss. So this is our final level up of the run. And final victory pose, so again, time is when the word stretch fades from the screen. And time! So that looks like it was probably a 21 something. My PB is a low 20. Yeah, 21:46, so about a minute behind PB, which is what you expect because the faster route loses you about 30 seconds, and hitting those enemies loses another 30 seconds. But hey, I'll absolutely take that for a marathon run, well below estimate, even considering the calibration from beforehand. So with that, I'll also give quick shout outs to Blocko and Kurogo, Japanese speedrunners who are able to do the ring presses a lot faster than me. I did mid 450 on that first stage. My best is a little in the low 500s. They're able to sometimes hit 600 on that first stage. And also shout out to Seafood for letting me know of this so that I could go ahead and apply. Otherwise I would have been completely ignorant, and I'm glad to have this in a marathon and have my first marathon here. So excited to show that off because Ring Fit Adventure is definitely not a typical speedrun. With that, we can go ahead and toss it back to the restreamers and get ready for the next run.